You're about to learn how to break into medical sales, one of the most competitive industries out there, but also one of the most rewarding careers you could ever have. My name is Samuel, and this is Evolve Your Success. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're going to go over the truth about getting hired in medical sales, what hiring managers are actually looking for. So, any of you listening to this right now, I'm sure, if not all of you, most of you have tried to apply to a medical sales position and you're just hearing crickets. And you've been told by reps, maybe even by a hiring manager or two, and by what you've read online that, hey, you got to have a past experience in medical sales to have any chance to get in at all. So here's the reality around that. It's not that you need past experience. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to everything you're hearing, but it is the reality. We have the Medical Sales Career Builder program. We get hundreds of people through that program into medical sales every single year. We've seen so much about what actually drives getting hired versus what people think. And it really isn't about past experiences. But what it is about is the potential to step into a role and do what's required immediately or grow the fastest if you're given the opportunity. So what does that mean? There was a study done with hiring managers, specifically in medical sales, and it showed about 78% of medical sales hiring managers prefer a candidate that has the potential to grow the fastest and get started with speed than someone that just has past experience. The reason why you hear so much about past experience is because usually it can be assumed that if you've done anything like this position, maybe not that exact position, but something like it, you can probably do it again and you can probably do it again well. The reality of that, though, is with past experience, there's a lot of bad habits that could have been created that a manager will have to manage out. There's a lot of just culture that rep is used to that is completely different from the new culture in this company. You being a new rep that doesn't have that experience, that doesn't have those bad habits, it's actually a breath of fresh air. So your goal in the interview process, your goal even before the interview process, your goal is how do I present myself in a way that shows that I'm a very quick learner, right? I can take information and I can put it into action immediately and get some results and shows that I'm extremely coachable and I have the right rapport, the right demeanor to be coached, to get in front of a customer and do my thing. That's what's going to set you apart from the other candidates. That's what's going to even put you ahead of the people that do have past experience that might have red flags that a real astute hiring manager will absolutely pick up on. So if you are someone that's listening to this and you've been through a bunch of interviews and just nothing's working out, like Samuel, I've heard it. They all tell me the same thing: past experience, past experience, past experience. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'd gamble that it's that's what they're telling you because there's nothing else to say. They have 50 other people to talk to. They have their hire that they actually want. There's really no value in spending more time with you. It's not being mean, it's just what it is. But I'm gonna gamble that what you're not bringing to the table is you're not showcasing that you can do this well, right? You're not showcasing that if you were put in day one because of your own research, your own diligence, whatever you're doing in your past career, you're going to translate all those skills into skills they need and get cracking day one. That's number one. Number two, you haven't shown them enough personality for them to believe that you can be coached correctly. What does that mean, right? So I'm sure you've heard of you've had an interview where it just seemed dry, maybe stale, maybe like, I really don't know how that went. Oftentimes, that's a sign that you didn't demonstrate coachability. And they're looking at it like, okay, this person, number one, if you didn't know what the role requires, they're looking at like, this person doesn't even know what we need to do. And I don't even really vibe with this person to coach them on what to do. So absolutely not. So your goal is to really develop that rapport powerfully in the interview so that they feel like, wow, I can talk to this person all day long. They have what it takes. I would love to spend my time making sure that they're knocking it out of the park come day one. Another thing that I would challenge all of you listening that I bet you're not doing is when you don't get an opportunity. So you've had an interview, you've talked to a bunch of people, things looked great, and they decide to go with another candidate, which happens all the time. You kind of just die. You don't keep up with the reps you talk to. You don't keep up with the hiring manager you spent time with, and nothing happens. Another statistic that I want everybody here to remember is 91% of medical sales leaders say the number one trait, okay, number one, not two out of five, or number three, number one trait out of all traits that someone can have that determines long-term success is coachability. What is coachability? Coachability is the ability to take feedback and act on it very fast. So you, as someone that just went through an interview that did not work out, ask for feedback. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of hiring managers will not give you any. However, you can ask them, what would you have liked to see more of? What could I have done a little differently? Now, a lot of them are going to say, well, we need to see some past experience. But take that to mean you did not do a good enough job of showing us what this job needs, showing us that you think you know what happens in this role, and showing us that you have the skills to execute what needs to happen in this role. When somebody, in fact, the next time somebody tells you, we need to see more past experience, that is exactly what they're telling you. You did not show us that you know what goes on in this role. You did not show us that you know how to execute what goes on in this role. And the skills that you did talk about, we do not believe that those skills are going to translate to what we need to see in this role. Take that feedback. Stay in touch with the reps you talk to. Stay in touch with that hiring manager. And when another opportunity comes back, apply again. Let them know you've worked on this. You've read some books. You took a program. You got some more education, and you're ready to do this again. Tell them that and watch things happen. One thing that we don't talk about often is in our program, we have a lot of graduates that they'll get interviews. We help them get these interviews. They knock them out of the park. And for some reason, they might not get it. And maybe 20, 30% of our graduates, it's that same hiring manager that they get a position from within a month or two of their rejection, sometimes even shorter than that. So the reality is, you got to be able to demonstrate that you are 200% coachable. And you can do that. You can do that powerfully by staying in contact with the people you connect with. Don't give up just because it didn't work out at that moment. Another thing, there's a lot of times that you did everything right, and somebody else, another leader, had a favorite, or another leader is just biased, or they've been waiting for someone within the company to give the role to, and the window of opportunity finally showed up. They still have to go through the process of hiring and interviewing all these people, but it doesn't mean you weren't necessarily good enough. It means you just got an opportunity to get some amazing feedback, to do something with, turn into action, come back again 10 times better, and show them how coachable you are and how quickly you're going to take all your skills and translate it into results if they give you the chance. Okay. Another point that hiring managers are looking for in these interviews that you're going on is a hiring manager is looking for a problem solver. What I hear a lot, I hear this with new students that join our program. I hear this with hiring managers that we regularly talk to about getting students opportunities and what they're looking for to increase our own teaching methods. And they all say this. They say, Samuel, I'm just sick of this cookie cutter ChatGPT style scripts that all these people keep coming with. So what are they talking about? They're saying that from the resume, ChatGPT is the thing now, right? And maybe not ChatGPT, maybe you don't use that, but you use some form of AI, Gemini, whatever you're using. And a lot of these resumes are just processed through that. And it's getting so common that hiring managers are getting pretty savvy. Like, they're able to identify an AI enhanced resume pretty quickly. And that's not even a bad thing. That you still might get an opportunity. But if you get into that interview and you're now scripting rehearsed just stuff that maybe you pulled off the internet, they're going to read through that immediately. And what they're looking for are not scripts, right? They're looking for problem solvers. You have to do everything you can to showcase that you are a problem solver. So there's a lot of different ways to do it in the interview. Number one, you can do that with your story. You can also do that with when they ask you, hey, so tell me about a time you did this, that, the other, with the experiences that you bring to the table that you've had to take action on. There are so many different, the questions you ask, there's so many different ways to showcase that you're a problem solver. And that is what hiring managers are looking for. There was a statistic that came out of a LinkedIn study, actually, and showed that 88% of sales leaders are looking for problem solvers. And those problem solvers tend to be top performers. And 27% of underperformers had no problem solving abilities whatsoever. So it goes to show that there's data that if you're not showcasing yourself as a problem solver, you're already behind. And I'm going to bank on this. If you want to be in medical sales and you want to be in front of physicians and clinical decision makers and medical assistants and nurses and scrub techs and what have you, and C suites even, and you want this life, I'm going to gamble that you are a problem solver. I can't imagine somebody wanting to go through the daily grind of wearing down your customers till they give you the time so you can show them how your solution can change their lives, their practice, their patients, if you're not a problem solver, right? I would go as far as to say it's this industry attracts problem solvers. I like to say the best and the brightest. Medicine attracts the best and the brightest. Tech and medicine attract the best and the brightest. And medical sales is no different. People that are excited by solving a problem want to go through the opportunity to get in front of people and really invite them to solutions. Those are medical sales reps, and that's you. And you want to be on the other side of this thing. So you got to show yourself as a problem solver in the interview process. Now, this point I can't stress enough: presence and professionalism. You didn't know that 49% of hiring managers decide within the first 5 minutes of sitting down with the candidate if they're a good fit. They didn't say if they're going to get the role or if they're going to be moved on, but if they're even a good fit to even continue with the rest of the interview. Now, there's no law, but it's like almost by law that if somebody gives you the time, whether you show up sloppy or not, the hiring manager is going to finish the interview. But I say this so that whoever's listening right now understands that presence and professionalism is everything. You can't go in there sloppy. You can't, if it's a Zoom interview, you can't have some crazy looking place that you're sitting in. You can't have dark lighting and no one can barely see your face. If it's a Zoom interview, you can't be slouched over in your seat and thinking you're going to make a good impression. If it's an in-person interview, you can't come in tank tops and sandals. I mean, some of these things you better know, and I know that a lot of you know, but the reality is professionalism and presence is real, especially in medical sales. You have to remember that at the end of the day, how you show up to an interview, whether it be on Zoom or in person, how you show up to an interview, in the hiring manager's mind, this is how you're going to show up in front of their customers. And who are their customers? We went over this. This is medical sales. There's all kinds of customers in medical sales, but who is the most common customer? The most common customer, no matter how you slice it, is a physician. And I'm not going to sit here and say that physicians are the smartest people in the world, but I will say physicians are the most educated people in the world, hands down. And the most educated people in the world have a lot of educated sittings and educated environments they're consistently in. So if you think about someone developing a lot of bias towards having a certain kind of presence when they show up in a room, it's fair to give it to the physician, which means it's fair to give it to the hiring manager, which means it's fair for them to look at you and in 5 minutes decide if you're the person, yes or no. So why not give yourself that opportunity to at least, before any words are even shared, show that you have that presence and professionalism? Make sure your environment is tip top. Make sure the outfit that you're bringing to the table is tip top. If you're not a suit guy, it's time to become one. If you're not a sleek business style woman, it's time to become one. It's worth it. And the reality is, when you get the job, you're gonna need to do it anyway. So warm up to it, get used to it. And another note I'd like to say is, if you are having a Zoom interview or an in-person interview or any kind of interview, and you find yourself saying, I don't know, should I wear this? Should I let this be seen in the room? If you're asking the question, then you know you have the answer. All right, we're almost done here. We have a few more. I think about two more. And this next one I want to talk about is grit. Now, I've talked about this in a number of videos, and I'm going to talk about it again because it's just critical. And let's be honest, we're talking about sales, and there's one thing, it starts with a G, that you better have in sales. Just forget it. And that's grit, right? Sales is the one industry where when you're repeatedly told no, you need to figure out how to turn that no into a yes. And it's not about getting yeses. Well, it is, but I mean, it's not about not experiencing no's to get those yeses. I think a lot of people assume that, oh, I'm a great sales rep because I only get yeses, or I'm a terrible sales rep because I get so many no's. That is not it. What separates the good sales reps from the terrible sales reps are the sales reps that consistently get after it, consistently refine their methods, and don't quit no matter what until they get the goal. Those are the top sales reps. In fact, some of the best sales reps I know were not very good for a while. And they became so great because they learned how to get that yes, no matter what's happening. Grit is what these hiring managers are looking for in the interview process. You better showcase grit. If you're coming out of college, you're like, I don't have anything, I haven't done anything. You better call on your college experience. That's one of the reasons why athletes are so favored in medical sales, is because there's a level of grit that's assumed with being Division 1, 2, 3 athlete. On the same token, if you've been in a bunch of organizations or student body this, student body that in college, that's going to work for you too. If you're a clinician, whether it be a nurse or a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, you should be able to demonstrate grit in the field you're in and the role you're in. Again, that's going to be, for nurses, that's going to be kind of assumed. But for a lot of other clinicians, it might not be. So you got to showcase that you have that grit. Because in sales, you're going to get the door slammed in your face, told no. You're going to get so close and it's going to blow up in your face. You're going to have a deal that's worth millions, and you're going to be on the brink of getting it done, and the whole company loving you, and you making your bonus, and you changing all these patients' lives. And at the very last minute, somebody just screws up the entire deal, and you have to start from ground zero. And you got to find the enthusiasm, momentum, and inspiration to get up and do it again. This is what they want to see. And it's tough. It's tough for a hiring manager, because how do you deduce all that from meeting somebody for 30 minutes to an hour? But the cool thing is that is the system that we live in, so you have the opportunity to do it. So go ahead and showcase that you got that grit. Call on all the past experiences that you had. Talk about the difficult things that you've had to overcome that have got you to even be in front of this hiring manager to have the interview, and showcase that you have the grit. They are trying to hire grit. Okay, now this brings us to our last one. And this is all about the fit. There's a LinkedIn study that showed that candidates that found roles aligned to their personality and skill set had a 3 times the chance of getting an offer from that interview. What does that mean? Well, for medical sales, that means you gotta know what you're going for. Oftentimes I hear from hiring managers and new students, so what are you going for? Oh, I just want to get in medical sales. I went for this interview and that interview, 2 different fields completely. And this interview and that interview with 2 different types of call points completely, 2 different styles of selling completely. And the person interviewing was like, yeah, I know you kind of got to see customers and talk the talk and walk the walk. And they really had no idea what actually happens. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going into your interviews and you're acting that way, or you're asking that dreaded question of, so what actually happens in this role, it's over. Forget it. You're not going to get an offer. And if you get an offer, I'll be surprised. Send me an email, because I doubt it. The reality is, if you know where you fit and why you fit there before you show up, and then you showcase that you understand what happens in that role, hour by hour, piece by piece, and can tie whatever skills you have to how you're going to dominate in that role, your chances go up dramatically. And more importantly, nobody else you're interviewing against is probably doing that. So fit is critical. You got to know what's going on with these medical sales positions. You can't just walk into an interview and assume that it's going to fall into place, especially if you haven't taken any time to look into what's going on. We have this amazing tool called Med Sales Match that literally aligns every single type of medical sales there is and tells you exactly what you need to make it happen. You need tools like this, or at least take the time to do some research like that, so that when you walk into that interview, you are prepared and you make it abundantly clear why you are the right fit. So on that note, if you're looking to get into medical sales and you have heard all these different points and you're like, Samuel, I'm ready, let's go. Like I said, at the very least, know where you belong, know what makes sense for you, so you can bring all these other skills to life. Find the right fit. Like I said, we have this amazing tool called Medical Sales Match. If you want this tool, in your DMs on LinkedIn, find Samuel DeYinka, find me, and message me match. And we will get you in to our community, get you access to this tool, so that you are totally, completely prepared for your next interview. Go ahead, find me on LinkedIn, Samuel DeYinka, DM me the word match, Let's get started.